So the OPPO Reno 8 Pro is a camera-centric phone that brings with it the special MariSilicon X NPU imaging chip. Now let it be known that this MariSilicon X NPU was first introduced by OPPO in its Find X5 series. Now what is MariSilicon X and what it does, I'll let you guys know in the due course of the video. So in this video made in collaboration with OPPO, I'm going to be testing the Reno 8 Pro's cameras and telling you guys what all you can do with it and what's the kind of tech that you get inside with it. Be rest assured, all opinions are entirely mine and unfiltered. If you don't know me yet, I'm Ershad, you're watching Trakin Tech English. Let's test the OPPO Reno 8 Pro. Now starting out with the MariSilicon X chip inside the OPPO Reno 8 Pro. What is it? It's basically a separate neural processing unit which is available apart from the Dimensity 8100 Max system on chip inside this phone. Now the MariSilicon X is a 6nm chip with an AI computing power of 18 trillion operations per second or 18 TOPS. Now in simple words, what it can do are basically two things on the OPPO Reno 8 Pro. Firstly, it can reduce noise in 4K night video recording, and it can also capture better dynamic range in 4K 30fps video recording. It does all of this with better power efficiency because the processing of the AI algorithms is now shifted, that load is shifted from the SoC to the NPU itself. In low light, the dynamic range correction of 4K 30fps video capture is commendable. It does a good job of not blowing out the highlights, which is generally a concern with phones in its price class. Plus, there's no lens flare, which is also great. And the noise levels have been considerably reduced, providing you with a clean footage. But let it be known that when you have some sort of artificial intelligent computational photography algorithm running in the background, there's bound to be some sort of detail loss. Now, however, I do have two concerns with the video recording capability of this phone is that firstly, it doesn't do 4K 60 FPS and then there is no OIS either. But EIS works very well, as is evident from this capture of 4K 30 FPS video in the day. In fact, in this video, you will also notice that it keeps the colors close to natural. Additionally, the sound recording is particularly impressive. That's because the Reno 8 Pro has something called Smart Audio Effect, which does a good job of reducing the wind noise. I like how it does such a clean recording of the babbling water fountain right next to me. Do let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the image quality, the image stabilization and the sound recording. Now before we move on, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever we put out an awesome new tech video, and maybe even like and comment for the sake of the YouTube algorithm. Now moving on to still photography, what I really liked about the Reno 8 Pro is the way the HDR algorithm has been tuned. Especially when you have an extremely bright background, it uses the power of DOL HDR capabilities of the Sony IMX766 to achieve the kind of HDR images you see on your screen right now. Now DOL HDR on the Sony IMX766 is really good technology, but to explain it will take some time, so what I'll do is I'll link an article in the description below. You guys must go check it out. Now coming back to the pictures, the way the highlights are controlled without losing out on the details and the shadows is definitely commendable. In these specific images where you have two subjects and a couple of supremely bright sources of light, you can see how the HDR algorithm does a very good job of creating a wide dynamic range without affecting the colors too much or even the details. And apart from HDR, I also really appreciate the way the image algorithm is tuning the colors now. OPPO's doing a commendable job with it. The Sony IMX766 is definitely sharp as usual, but the color science is also close to true to life now. OPPO's algorithm manages to render the right color of the apple in this sample. The blues and greens in this specific image are pretty well recreated as well. I'm genuinely surprised. Now coming to low light shots, while they're great with dynamic range, I often craved for slightly sharper textures in night mode. Now portrait mode pictures on the Reno 8 Pro are really sharp with excellent edge detection and bokeh blur too. My only gripe is that OPPO could have concentrated slightly more on the skin tones because it does a fantastic job in selfies, which I will come to in a bit. That aside, these portraits look great. Now the OPPO Reno 8 Pro also does a bang up job with portrait mode at night as well. This is something that is rare in this price range. In general, I'm kind of happy with the kind of portrait shots that you can get with the OPPO Reno 8 Pro. Now selfies on the OPPO Reno 8 Pro are absolutely stunning. I'm supremely impressed at what the Sony IMX709 can achieve. From the facial tones to the textures to the overall colors, it's just all really well balanced. The best part is the IMX709 on the front, that 32 megapixel sensor also has DOL HDR. And just take a look at this selfie portrait on the screen, which means that HDR selfies have a very well controlled exposure in the background, and even it pulls out details from the shadows as well. Also just just take a look at the selfie portrait on the screen. The edge detection and the bokeh blur is very tastefully captured by the algorithm. In fact, you can even see that my, spiked up hair is cut out from the background very well. I'm sure I'm going to be using the OPPO Reno8 Pro whenever I need a good selfie. It's a good selfie camera phone. Plus, there's an option in the app to capture a slightly wider field of view to fit in more people as well. Basically a 0.8x shot. Now, the secondary camera on the rear is an 8 megapixel ultrawide. I really wish OPPO could have added a higher resolution ultrawide angle sensor. Now, as far as 8 megapixel ultrawides go, this is one of the better ones though. There is a very slight color shift, but that's not as distracting as some other 8 megapixel ultrawide angle images that I've seen on other phones. The macro again is only a 2 megapixel shooter, so it takes images like you'd expect from a 2 megapixel macro camera, but there's one ace up OPPO's sleeve, and that is the ring light flash. So this macro image turns into this extremely crisp one. Smart move indeed. So the Reno8 Pro's MariSilicon X NPU clearly indicates the direction that OPPO wants to take with its future camera-centric phones. Like I mentioned, by moving the image processing to the NPU, OPPO can now achieve the kind of artificial intelligence and computational photography that it wants to do within that system itself. And it can keep using that system over and over again for its future phones too, and without having to work too much on it. What it helps achieve is faster real-time processing and reduction in battery usage as well, which means that you can expect, better battery life when you're shooting with the phone out and about. I also like the fact that OPPO is actually utilizing the DOL HDR tech inside Sony IMX sensors, because the kind of HDR performance that I saw in the selfies and even with the rear camera is actually pretty impressive, and I think that there is a lot of scope there. That said, I want OPPO to further push the MariSilicon X NPU to do more of the imaging within that system itself. There's a lot of potential in there, and I really want to see how OPPO takes the MariSilicon X NPU imaging on its future OPPO phones forward. I want to see what happens there. What do you guys think of the OPPO Reno8 Pro's camera performance? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, this is Ershad signing off. Keep tracking and stay safe.